Hello everyone, this is the Abundance Oracle and we're at the end of the road here. I think I've brought you here once before, I think. Let's just say this is where the inlet comes in. Let me make sure I can get you in the picture down there. Remember we had a boat with the big wake? Do you remember that? Came by. No slow wake here. Everybody just speeds as they want, I suppose. Okay, I wish I could tell you about the smell here. The salt smell today is really wonderful. Sometimes it's hard. If you were sitting here, it would be much easier to do these videos. It's hazy today. And the hazy, I have to tell you, is I think because of what's been sprayed in the air. It doesn't seem like it's the fog from fires or anything. Something new for us to contend with. I guess we're going to be changing a lot of things in the near future and contending with things. We'll just have to find our own way to be able to handle these things. So the question that was posed to me today is, if the Fed lowers the interest rates at some point in time in the near future, that's going to cause inflation, as it always does. What would you invest in? What would I invest in? They asked me, what would I invest in? And I would invest in hard assets. So once again, you've probably heard me say this, but I'm going to answer the person's question. Hard assets consists of real estate, which is a bit challenging right now. If it's commercial real estate, you got to make sure you have a really solid tenant. There's so much office real estate that's going for, 50 cents on the dollar or even less. Some of the malls are not doing well. So you have to be careful of the real estate. Also, I know in Nashville, they built a lot of luxury for Nashville, I'm going to say, luxury condominiums. So a 2-bedroom luxury condominium, just so you know, in Nashville is a little bit below $3,000. But it's a place that you have a view, you've got great picture windows, all new appliances, the upper end appliances. It's not a huge apartment or condo, but it's built pretty well. And people like the view. You're not getting any view of the water, of course, which I'm addicted to. But for Nashville, it's a very, very upscale neighborhood. This one little area has 4,300 condominiums now that they can't get rid of. And it's all the upscale condominiums. That's a lot of condominiums to try and get rid of. I always told people, and I'm breaking my rule in my new purchase in Florida, not to buy condominiums because you don't have control over the other owners. And if they don't pay their condo fees, it gets very messy. And there were a couple downturns, 2007, 8, 2000, before that as well, where people couldn't pay their condominium fees. So there was an assessment made on all the owners that could. And you either paid it or you didn't get your condominium taken care of. So commercial real estate. If you have small, like little strip malls or things like that, you don't want to call it strip malls, but strip center, I'm going to say. There's a lot of those, depending upon where in the country you have it, that are going totally bankrupt as well. Residential is always needed, but luxury residential is not. However, if you have a landmark location, so that would be a waterfront property in good locations, very upscale, you're slightly protected. So it seems as though in the past, the non-landmark locations could go down as much as 50%, and the landmark locations might go down 10 or 15%. So it does protect you a little bit, although those are more expensive. Okay, then we have gold and silver, which seem to be being pushed a lot right now. You have gemstones, art, some cars, so they would be cars that aren't commonly used necessarily, but might be antique cars. I'm trying to think. I know Ralph Lauren has quite a few cars, and they're all old, hard to get. You know, or let's say you get a Shelby or something like that that's hard to get. But you have to be able to maintain it. When I first had my Rolls Royce, and I had it for a few years, they said, okay, well, it looks like, you know, your car's getting older now. You need to replace some of the plastic, I don't know what they called it, tubing or whatever it is. And I said, okay, how much that's going to run? They said $8,000. The rubber, you know, the rubber things inside. You can see I'm not a car person. So, two little kids struggling to get along. It was one of my favorite things. It was big. It was the Corniche, and it was the same color that the Queen of England had. And I just said, right now, it's too difficult. Life is too difficult. And I had to pull myself out of that mess. So I sold the car. But what I'm saying is cars like that. All right. Then we have some jewelry, not typical jewelry, but outstanding, magnificent jewelry. So not, you know, you think ladies think, you know, a 2-carat diamond, a 3-carat diamond, real diamond, not that Masonite made diamond, is nothing. 5 carats and up. You got to get 5 carats up, and it has to be decent quality. Okay, what else? So other hard assets that may be not so monetarily valuable, but assets that will help you in life, because if we go to war, the shortages of a lot of stuff is going to become overwhelmingly evident. The people at the top of the pyramid, if you know what I'm saying, want to get, by 2050, they want to eliminate all farm animal production. All. So you're going to have to be able to have your own. And what can you have in a small backyard? Well, maybe you need to figure out how you're going to have a not so small backyard. So there's another piece of real estate. In the future, I believe, and this I look for my kids as well, I think people are going to be driven into the cities. And the reason they're going to be driven into these 15-minute cities is because so many people are going to be losing their real estate. Prices are going to keep going up with inflation. And what are you going to prioritize? Are you going to prioritize, I have to have my fancy house, or are you going to prioritize, I need to feed my kids, I need to get them educated, I need to keep my job? So everyone's life is different. You need to assess, can you afford, and do you have the skill set? Can you learn fast? Do you have the friends that could have you learn how to have some farm animals and some gardening skills? I'll tell you, I'm on my, I think it's my third year, fourth year, and I was Miss Brainiac in the old days. I'm being able to speak with you, but, the numbers and assessing future trends, it was what was valuable about me. So, can you maintain what you have? Do you have enough cushion to be able to maintain what you have? It sounds to me like they're going to drive the food prices up a lot, and that'll make the middle class also go down. They're already going to be, oh, look, we're going to have a nice little boat go behind us. Let's see if we can get it for you to see instead of my campground look. So, hard assets. Can you maintain? Do you have a safety net? Do you have a safety net of non-Fed notes? Which means right now they call it the US dollar, but that's technically a Fed note. Where are you, little? Oh, there it is. You might just want to assess some things to tighten up the ship. So, for example, I also used to have a boat. And when things get tough, which they did for me, as you know, my husband's not well. He didn't, when we had to get divorced, and he didn't take care of the kids at all. And I didn't have a job, and I had to pull a lot of stuff together. And you single moms and you single dads, also, if you're taking care of your kids as well, it's really, really tough sometimes. And I suggest to people, if you had a bad marriage, have a good divorce. Be good to each other. It is so much harder as you get older to be single than being married. So very much more difficult. Oh, here's the wake coming. Let's see, hold on. Can you see? I don't know, it's hard for me to tell. I'm not a camera person, you know me. So, if I didn't have much money, what would I do? If you're going to collect, maybe they call it junk silver, which is 90% silver. And you get it in the rolls, it's the dimes. You can get quarters as well. Find a coin shop near you that has a good reputation. Who the heck knows coin shops nowadays? Because it hasn't been tradition. But in the past, just so you know, people who went through the Depression learned to keep 10 to 20% of their assets in gold and silver. And also, when you were forced, I think it was Roosevelt, when you were forced to hand in your gold, they gave you money. It was way devalued on what they should have given you. But if you had jewelry, they didn't demand that you turn that in. So a lot of sneaky, clever grandmothers, of which, I don't have anybody like that, not my crazy Nana. Sneaky, crazy grandmothers had things they owned made into jewelry. So keep some of that in mind. And the people that did that were very glad that they did. Very, very glad that they kept it. Now, no, you're not obeying the law when you're demanded to turn it in. So That you'll have to follow your own heart with. But that's people used in, let's just say, let's look, Venezuela, in Cuba, they used the quarters, the silver quarters were worth a lot of money at the time. And also things that you can trade with other people. You know, if you have extra salt, sugar, things that are useful, wheat berries, organic wheat berries, you have to learn how to store that type of stuff. I don't know, you got to look up in YouTube. You can see all these things in YouTube. But what do you need for your household to run? Do you have enough shampoo for a year or two? What really is going to be a big concern with China cutting back on some of the mineral supply they're allowing us to have. The pharmaceuticals, they made 90%. I know it's down a little bit of our pharmaceuticals. How are you getting backup for pharmaceuticals? Do you have aspirin? And you need to find out whatever you use on a regular basis. You need to make sure that it's not made in China. If it's made in China, you better start stockpiling it a little bit. Because if it takes you 3 months or 4 months or 6 months to get vital pills or whatever, asthma medication or whatever it is, you better have a backup supply and then rotate it. What I mean by rotating is the expiration date. You use the soonest expiration date on things and then rotate when you're done with that to the next soonest expiration date. So the biggest thing is trying to figure out how to maintain your family. And if you're the cooker, the chef in the family, start now before it comes to be a crisis on making things that are less expensive. So for example, pasta and spaghetti sauce. You can chop up the sausages, and instead of someone getting a whole sausage, if you're chopping it up in little slices, they'll feel like they still got sausage, but you as the provider will be spending a lot less and a lot less quantity of your sausages. My grandmother used to make meatloaf. She went through the Depression. She added egg, which wasn't difficult to get, and old bread she used to turn into breadcrumbs and put in her meatloaf. She used to flavor it with ketchup. Sometimes we ended up with the leftover peas, the leftover corn, whatever was sort of left over that could go in and still keep the meatloaf stuck together. And then, as a variation, she would make mashed potatoes and sort of chop up in little itty bitty pieces the meatloaf and make a little gravy and put it on top of mashed potatoes. That was one of the grandkids' favorite things. We loved that. And she seemed like she added a little extra spice to make it flavorful. But you'd be surprised if you start practicing some of these things, what your family will say. Oh, this is new. This is tasty. Oh, Mom, don't make this again. Do it now so they're used to being able to experiment with new foods. Don't get to the point of saying this is all there is to eat. Start to plan ahead. Dad, that you used to make only steaks on the grill. maybe start to make shish kebabs where you would put um, a little piece of meat or chicken or steak, but then you'd also put some pepper or whatever you have in your garden growing. Even small potatoes can go on there. Small, you'd have to have little baby potatoes. But all right, I can go on and on and on. I wish you were here, and I'm glad you've been able to spend a little bit of time with me. You see, my mind wanders when I start one way. So you know what you need. You need hard assets. You need a backup stash of cash, because if the electricity goes out, well, you won't be able to get gas because the gas pumps won't pump it out. So make sure you get a 5-gallon drum and fill it up in case you're in absolute need to. First of all, don't even let your gas tank get to half empty. Keep it filled up. That's all there is to it. Russia today showed up off of our California coast in a big, huge, like Navy vessel. Be prepared, please. Do this for your family, for the people you love, and if they make fun of you, doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You can do it quietly or you can do it with their help. It depends upon each family. I love you tons. Big hugs and a lot of admiration for those of you who have started to be organized. I do appreciate it, and I know people are waking up now to discover that the side they were on is the wrong side, and now are switching over. We welcome you. I'm glad you learned and are seeing, because we need everyone to jump on the bandwagon of being able to take care of their family. It's not a crazy worry at all. Okay, I know this is way too long, but I wish you were here with me. I, love you. I wish you were here to climb on. Well, not Bert. Bert, I hear you're in therapy now, taking care of your physical stuff. So I wouldn't let you climb on these stones with me. But when you're better, we can climb on the stones. We'll have Barbara climb on the stones. I see Angie called me while we're having this conversation. I'll return her call. And I got invited to a baby shower. I was so hoping that I would get to go to this baby shower. It's very, very exciting. From a family friend. The mom has been my good friend, and her daughter we sort of grew up with. And she is kicking butt, the daughter. She's doing very well. Okay, I love you tons. I'll be back again. Bye-bye. Oh, subscribe if you can. I always forget that. And if you can, please write a comment down below. Anything that's useful to other people in your organization, or maybe even other places that, other YouTube channels that would be very useful for people to check out. Okay, love ya. Bye.